Richmond County was at one time the richest county in the state, and I did not know that until we started looking into the history. But when I reflect back to being 13 years old and my stepmother working in the mills, she worked over at Sara Lee Hosiery. Mm-hmm. I can remember when I came up for the summer, she would always tell us, stay in the house or stay in the yard, don't leave the house. I always knew that I could gauge the time that she would be home, so I'd go out and play with my friends, but I knew that between the hours of 7:30 and 3 o'clock
when I
needed to be back. And it was just interesting over the years as I got older, and I remember her coming home and saying that she was going to get a severance package, and it was the first time I had ever heard of a severance package. Mm-hmm. And she explained to me what was going on, and she was saying that the jobs were going somewhere else, and that they were leaving the United States. And I thought, wow. And then now that I'm a lot older and I'm working in this community, I see it every day, Chad. I see the for sale signs, and I hear about things like squatting and all of the things that come along with people being out of work.
Okay.
I realize now that when those factories closed down, that not only did they take the livelihoods of this community, but it also took hope.
It's when you ride around, it's such interesting to see how many mills there were.
Yes.
And they were everywhere. I mean, not just in one part of the county. They were all over the county, all along the river and all through East Rockingham and stuff.
Absolutely. And where our office is located, that was ironically Mill Road, mm-hmm. right off of Mill Road. It's always amazing for me when I ride through that part of town to see what it was, and not so much what it has become, but what it can be. And that's what drives the great 3D Academy. That's what drives us.
What was BRAC's original vision for bringing all the 3D into the high schools? What was their end goal there?
Their original goal was to provide every high school with a portable 3D theater, and they did. And this portable 3D theater was equipped with a set of 3D projectors that would take math and science content, project it to a screen, and when you put on these glasses, the content would jump out of the screen. And they really felt that this would change education in that students could visualize concepts a lot easier. However, unfortunately, I feel that technology was just a little ahead of its time. The teachers really did not embrace it the way that it was intended. So that's when we came up with the concept of students creating content to jump out of the screen. Because one of the things that BRAC said was that this is the skill of the future, that manufacturers and employers are looking for employees that have these skills. And here in Richmond County, we drank the Kool-Aid. We didn't just drink that first 8-ounce cup. We came back with a 64-ounce cup and said, fill her up. Mm-hmm. And we started over at the high school. We approached the teachers in the high school, and I asked for 10 of our best and brightest, and they found me 7. And we took these students into a room over the summer, and we said to them, we're going to try something new with this technology. We showed them the technology, and of course they got all excited. This is cool, this is wonderful. But I wrote 2 words on the board: funding and learning curve. And I said to these students, if we fail, if we do not succeed here, it will not be because of these 2 words, because I believe that funding's always going to be a problem. I mean, Chad, when have you ever had enough money to accomplish all the things that you wanted to do.
It's you know it's a you can either choose to move forward with what you have, or you can whine, moan, and complain about not having enough. And I mean, you're just never going to have everything you need.
Absolutely.
You can always use a little more. But I think that what we need to do is teach kids to do the best with what they have.
Absolutely.
And start. I think that's the biggest shortfall we're having in education today and in America today is people are afraid to start. And once they start, they can't follow through. I mean, nobody's going to ride up on a white horse and be your superhero. This is just not going to happen. Nobody's going to save us.
I agree. So when we started with the students, I had enough money to buy chips and sodas, but that was about it. And I challenged them to learn to create 3D objects that jump out of the screen in 40 hours of instruction. I said, this is our start date. This is the last day we're going to be here. We've got to get it done here. And I want to say, Chad, I'm proud to say that they didn't do it in 40 hours.
How long did it take them?
Chad, it took them only 10. In only 10 hours of instruction, they were creating basic polygons, but they were also getting creative with these polygons and learning how to manipulate them and morph them into different objects. But once they were able to import those objects into Unity 3D, because that's what we were using at the time, and then load it up on this portable 3D theater, and it jumped out of the screen at them. That's all it took, because after we ended during the summer, they started contacting me during the school year and saying, Mr. Epps, when are we going to do this some more? And I said, well, when would you guys like to do it? And they said, hey, let's do it after school. So we started after school on Tuesdays from 3:30 to 5. And that was great, but we created a problem with that because they wanted more. And then Tuesday became Tuesday and Thursday. And then finally, one student came up to me and said, Mr. Epps, what are you doing Saturday? And I said, well, school's not open. And they said, but couldn't we get together on Saturday for maybe 4 or 5 hours and really get some stuff done? And Chad, I fell for that because 4 or 5 hours became
all day.
It became all day on Saturday.
All day.
And it was interesting. The principal at the high school at the time, Mr. Corey Satterfield, I guess he had stopped by one Saturday and he poked his head in the door and he was like, what's going on here? I guess his mentality was if they're here on Saturday, it may be a detention thing or something like that. And I explained to him what was going on and he said, so how often are they doing this? And I said, well, if it were up to them, they'd be doing it every Saturday.
Right.
But that sparked something in him because
He saw something.
He saw something. And he called us all together, his career and technical education staff, and our CTE director, Ms. Sharon Johnson. And we sat down and talked about creating an academy, creating a class where students could actually learn 3D modeling. And I remember what Corey said at that time. He said, I don't know about this technology. I don't even know how to use it. But I can see that it's motivated my students. And if it's motivating them to come to school on Saturday, I know it's something I have to have during the school day. And that's how the scientific visualization curriculum was adopted and implemented here in Richmond County Schools, and that was great. But we created a bigger problem, Chad. And that problem came when those high school students started taking that class. Their siblings in middle school and elementary school started contacting me and stopping me in the hall and saying, my brother's in that class at the high school. Well, I'd like to learn how to do that. And I'm smarter than my brother. And that's when I realized that the students really became engaged in this type of learning. So I spent the next 2 years after school working with middle schoolers and elementary school students on learning to design in 3D.